Anyway, that's when I thought I will never jump off a high cliff again. So, hello everybody. Welcome back to Talking Void. We were just discussing my last swimming trip. I won't say anything else about that one. And Roger said, well, okay, you're telling me that story, but I once... is it dived? I don't know.
Yes.
From the San Francisco bridge, so the Golden Bridge. So,
well,
some
at
people
least
just
you don't have a band-aid on your forehead this time, so
yeah. It's on the back of my head now.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome to Talking Void. This evening, my guest is Mr. Roger, our dungeon master from the Precipice of Dreams, and generally a good person.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Once again.
Yeah. You aren't going to say that I'm a good person as well, or would you be lying?
Maybe at the end of the show I'll use this time to figure that out.
Okay, well, that's okay then. So before we go into the Talking Void introduction, we are first... I love you, Roger. Oh, I want your babies. Well, here we go. Chat is excited. So it will be a great show, I think. Anyway, before we go into all the stuff, we first have to do some socials. Because those our socials are our lifelines, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so
I'm not really into the socials.
Yeah, but and our streaming platforms and everything. So we have a Twitch account. Follow us there. Hopefully next time we do the Precipice of Dreams, I'm hoping we get it right by then. You can even subscribe to Twitch. Follow us on or subscribe. You know all that terminology anyway. On YouTube as well, because once we the videos leave our Twitch. Man, that's cool. Our Twitch thingy, they appear on YouTube, and you can watch them there. I've seen that our first video has over 200 views right now, so that's pretty cool. We are really climbing. And well, that's about the YouTube. Then we have our Instagram, where you can follow us, and we sometimes post there, and we post our private things as well, or private. I post a lot of maps. I'm starting to post a lot of maps. Eric does some painting thingies, and Michel, well, you can follow us there. And then we of course have our Discord server, which gets more professional every day, but hasn't that much followers yet. So come on, join us and discuss everything we do right there. And then we have our Facebook, where you, come and see us there as well. That's everything helps. That's the thing about socials and channels and everything. And your mic sounds a bit cut off. And I think I know.
I'm gonna check Discord.
Yeah. So that's about the socials. And then, as Michel likes to say, without further ado, let's go into the other intro. But Roger, it's like 85 meters, so I think you would at least have broken some... Oh, we're back. Anyway, welcome back to Talking Void. And now we're really going to start our this evening off with the introduction of our topic, our main topic this evening, which has been displayed below me for the most part of... for the part where you saw us talking. So how or why did your character die? That's the big thing that we are asking, answering, talking about. Yeah, talking about. That's a good one. Talking. I have to remember that word because we have to do something with the word talking. I think, unless
For sure.
you vote void on that one. Anyway.
Just go already.
oh, have we started? Man.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, welcome chat. Chat is lively, man. I hope I can keep up with the speed at which it is moving. Maybe we should put some delay on it. No, we shouldn't, because this is way more fun. There's this really Uncharted Creed smiley that does like this. Hello, Uncharted Creed. Didn't see you here before. I've seen a lot of the others, but Voiding About. Yeah, that's a great title for the show as well. No, Talking Void. I've introduced the topic. I've introduced my guest. So I think we're ready to really dive into the subject matter of this episode. And when we do...
Does this conclude the Jasper monologues? Or?
Oh, you want to talk as well? Roger, how do you feel about being on my show?
Yeah, really great, Jasper. I'm your number one fan, so thanks again for having me. Let's dive into the questions.
That's it? Really?
No, I don't have the monologue.
Okay. Well, now Herr Steves is already spamming his Wolfguard Ramadeus dev. Because of Merciless DM, there was an exploding frostworm and the blast radius was larger than my dwarven moving speed. Yeah, I remember that one. Maybe we'll get to that at a certain point when we DM to DM are discussing how we handle character devs in random encounters and stuff. Well, it wasn't really that random, but it wasn't okay. Here we go. So... Roger, tell me about the experience thus far. And if I talk about experience, tell me some of the highlights of the journey we have begun. And because we don't want to be boring about how do you set your cameras and everything, just what are some highlights for you in the past?
Like the adventure or... The adventure of
yes, or your when were you on the edge of the seat as a DM and thought, well, man, this is going a totally different direction than I thought, and but it's so great.
Well, I'll jump in on that because when I initially thought of this adventure, I thought, you know what, we'll do an introduction, like 3 sessions, and then they'll arrive in Brentwick, and the adventure will really start. And I think we're now on the 12th session, and you guys have barely passed the halfway mark. So I was kind of wrong about that. The encounter last time was actually the second encounter I had planned, and I think it was the 6th you fought so far. So things are changing along the way a lot, and that's cool. Yeah, that is cool because that's something I enjoy greatly about DMing. That you can write this whole story, but eventually the players will get their fingers in, and things will change inevitably. And adapting is part of DMing, and I love that part. I mean, if players surprise me, then I'm always happy.
So, are we a surprising party to you?
Yeah. Almost at every step of the way. So,
is why it lasts longer, or before we are in?
No, I think it's also the fact that you guys are just diving into the adventure and just making the most of it, and the interactions between you guys take up a lot of time, but that's time well spent, if you ask me. And I really enjoy that, actually. And there's so much role playing going on, and we could have just said we'll travel from A to B and nothing happens in between. But this way is far better. It's I'm having so much fun, and you guys give me a lot of hooks as well, even though some of you don't even realize you're doing it.
Don't we, or do we? That's the question as well. Well, maybe not all of them, of course, but I think we really grab on to everything you're giving us.
and more. I mean, wildly flailing about and just grabbing everything you can get a hold of. And that forces me to put more thought into the world and develop it more for myself as well. Because not everything is etched in stone, as DM, and I tend to build my worlds around the characters as well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I've thought out, of course, but it gets really fleshed out once you guys come there, and I get to see it through your eyes, and that gives it more shape.
So on the previous episode, we discussed. I did it right? Yeah.
Yeah, you did it right.
So on the previous episode, we discussed the fact that the journey is the adventure. Instead of the goal being the adventure, because it really never is. And I think I'm experiencing this as the adventure. Brentwick is still a kind of not real thing that lies in my future, because I have this as Bowen. I have the idea that I want to get there, but as Jasper, it's not that important compared to what we are experiencing on the road itself. So I like that it takes us 11, and our 12th session will be next Monday. 11th session before we get halfway. And I think it might take some more sessions to get there after. I don't know really, but
well, there might be some side adventures along the way. I mean,
are they though? Are they side adventures? Or can we talk about side adventures?
They're not. They're it's all.
So chat is lively, as I said before, and they are talking about character deaths. So Dutch 20 Life is a forever DM who kills off players and doesn't bother by being killed himself because he's never a player.
Know that feeling?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, a little bit. We'll discuss that as well. But I like this one by Uncharted Creed. When Dutch 20 Life died during character customization. Don't we all? Or not? No, we don't. But, we discard a lot of characters when we are at character customization. If every iteration... Well, anyway, now it's getting metaphysical right now. Anyway... I like this lively chat, so I'll keep watching in between. So, because we have discussed the highlights that you've pointed out, we are going into our next session already, and we are going to be discussing our last session, namely branching out. So, from a DM perspective, what did you think of the session?
Oh, it was awesome. It had everything: combat, good roleplay, drama, tension. I really liked it. It was very enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
And combat went very smoothly. I mean, combat can drag on, but it didn't. And I mean, it lasted only a couple of rounds, but still, we went through it fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's a funny thing that you're saying that, because I experienced it as fast, and still it was kind of half the session.
But a lot of stuff happened afterwards. I mean, to be fair, I never intended for Solving to discover that someone was watching you, but he rolled so well that there was no way around it, and that's the beauty of the dice rolls.
I like that part of the adventure very much, because those kind of things really, as a player, give me the feeling that that things change because of successful stuff we do. And
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't have been any problem if he failed that roll. I mean, the DC was very high, but he made it, and he was rewarded for it, and gave you some new insights, all of you.
Yeah.
Or more questions. Probably.
Yeah,
but,
that's probably, yeah. Well, at the end of the episode, you said, and Bowen had some probably had some, or Jasper, however you want to say, had some insights of what might have been happening. He made a connection, you said. So, and I've been wondering this for the past week. Did he really mean that I made the right connection or just a connection? Because that's really...
You made a connection, but it was not a bad connection. I mean, it sounded logical at the time, at least to my ears.
Yeah. Okay. So now I feel confirmed.
I'm not saying that you were right.
Yeah.
Though,
Yeah. So. That's what I mean, and I think that's the player dungeon master thing, that you grab onto everything you can get from your dungeon master, and maybe you're branching out in the wrong direction when you do.
Yeah.
So apparently Esner said something funny. That would be so disappointing. Episode 10, arrived at the destination, stuff delivered, Bowen cooks final meal, and Sol and Audrey fly away. Closing credits, no character deaths, the end. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The plan though, but
yeah.
Thanks for spoiling that, Esner.
Oh, oh man, what did you do? Esner, I said to you before, don't go on making a causal how do you say? Causal conclusions? No, that sounds strange. Cause and effect. Don't.
Causal relationships.
Causal relations. Yeah, that's a nice one. Because he's very good in it. At it. Man, my English. Anyway, correlation is causality. Okay, yeah.
Oh, heresy.
Okay, now let's not go into that too much then. No character deaths, haven't... Okay, anyway...
Well, there was a cliffhanger, right?
Oh man, yeah. Let's talk about that cliffhanger, because I thought it was really great that you said, well, a player-induced cliffhanger. What went through your mind when that happened?
That's true, because, initially I planned for a cliffhanger, namely the Fae creature waking up. I thought I would just end the session there, but I looked at the time and thought, I want this interaction. I really need this role play now. I want to see what happens now and not next time, while we are all very much into the role play instead of having to start up. And so I lost my cliffhanger there, and then suddenly Erik did that, and I thought, wow, this is the perfect time. I'm going to end the session here, and it's not something Erik and I discussed or anything. It's just it all came from him, which again, if players surprise you, it's one of the best feelings for a DM.
It's true, yeah. There are some DMs in chat. Do you agree? If players surprise you, it's the best feeling you can have as DM, because they have screwed up my biggest adventure yet a couple of times by now. I have to rewrite the whole thing.
So innocently.
No character deaths. Haven't you seen the state in which Audrey left Sir Gunther? Wow, just wow, Audrey left. Yeah, well, it's true.
Pointing blame.
Yeah, but that's great, right? So, do you think we have discussed the episode enough? Well, I wanted to say one more thing, because what I really liked was the art and the creatures that came into being, and the art that Erik did for you. Still, in my mind, I don't know how this process goes between you. I know Erik can really separate these things very well, but then again, you're asking, will you do a flower like this and will you do a flower like that, and
well, I can shed some light on that, and I mean, it's something I'm having trouble with as a DM as well, because it essentially means I'm giving him spoilers, and he says he can handle that, so I believe him. But every time I have to do that, I'll give these descriptions of things I want drawn, and most of those descriptions are incomplete. So even when more often than not, when he first presents them, then I think, no, it has to be more like this, and I forgot to add this, but I didn't forget. I just purposely left it out because I didn't want to spoil anything. But we had a fun conversation, because at the end of the episode before, I described it like a rope was being tied around his feet, and like a lasso pulling him in, but it was actually a tangled vine. And once I explained to him what I wanted to have drawn, he said to me he was actually relieved that it wasn't his past catching up with him. Because, he left Bresser in kind of a hurry, and there's some stuff going on there, and he thought, that was what was going on there. So he was relieved when I asked for artwork of evil plants.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's the way to look at it.
But it does spoil some stuff for him, and he says that he's okay with it. I'm still not too sure how I feel about it, because I like these big reveals as DM as well. And it's just, with one player already knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Uncharted Creed says, part of the fun when you screw up your plans makes things interesting. And Michel says, I'm not saying what you're going to fight, but draw me a tentacled cat ogre bear man. And here Steven says, like for the next session I have to make a dead Bowen token. Still don't know what's going to happen next time though. I like that one. Donker Rups, just make him draw 50 characters and only use 2 or 3.
Oh, but he has a list of, I think, at least 50 different things that he has, that I requested for drawing. But for the previous session, I highlighted some stuff and I said, I need this now.
Previous.
Yeah. No.
Sorry. Had to do that one. Previous, of course. Okay. And I liked, by the way, the combat itself. I think it went really smoothly, considering the abilities we used and everything. Wang was MVP,
I've been
think.
playing a high level campaign, or semi-high level, for a while now, and I have to say that these level 1 and 2 encounters are a bit harder to put together, actually, without going overboard, because
you're making it interesting with all these saving throws and everything, and being dragged in, and
but it's they're more simple encounters compared to what I subject my other players to.
Yeah, but I think it's funny that we are always discussing the rule number in 5th edition. If you're outnumbered by the enemy, then 5th edition really sets you back a lot. And then we got 7 enemies in one encounter.
Yeah. But
with a totally useless counter in our party.
Yeah, I kind of count you as 4 players, but you're not really optimized power play characters either. So.
No.
I'm kind of careful, but I try to make it interesting at least.
We have a broad spectrum, though. That's cool.
Yeah. You have some tricks up your sleeves.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's enough for Precipice, right?
Sure. So, unless anyone else has a question, but Bonfire OP, that's true.
IRP. Well, it's good, right? I like the light aspect as well. Then we are going into our next section, and that's where some of you in chat might find the answers you have been giving us for the topic we'll be discussing, which is how or why did your character die. So let's do the intro. Okay, that was it.
I'm confused now, but
I was talking with Michel on the Parallel Projections yesterday about all these shows our grandmothers or his mother watched, like The Bold and the Beautiful and Santa Barbara and everything, and it came back to me suddenly, so I had to do something with that.
Our staff has actually recognized it, but okay. Yeah,
I don't know how that happened, but anyway. Hyperion says, we encountered the hack known as blah blah blah, and during this fight a bunch of spells were thrown around, and eventually my warlock fell due to some unlucky hits from the and the crowd kill spell, then rolling a failed death save followed by a natural one soon after. So, as you might have noticed, I entered a few blah blahs blah 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 blah, and that's because in this one there were some spoilers for things that were really running on Dutch 20, where I got this question from, and he said it as a spoiler thingy in his post. So I thought I'd just replace some of these parts, so no spoilers are given to the parallel games that are happening there. But there's a hack, and the hack has an ally. That's the main thing in this one. And maybe some of us in chat will recognize this post in a way. So, yeah, a classical one, I think. Character death by being totally overwhelmed by a powerful creature and rolling very badly on the death save end.
Yeah, that's the way the dice roll, I guess. Then.
Yeah.
But,
I think I put this one up first because, in a way, it's the most. It's the way to die where, when it happens, you're a bit confused about what just happened. You know, you're sitting at the table going. It
seemed like it was a random encounter because the hack clearly has a name, blah 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 blah. So he didn't die to some random orc that hit him and he died, because that feels bad, and now you die to somewhat.
Yeah, but I still think this is. Yeah, but I still think there's some confusing element when this happens to you.
Yeah.
Because you're so looking forward to fighting the big bad guy, because this wasn't the big bad guy from of the adventure, or girl. Man, nearly spoiled it again. Anyway. Yes, I think it's the most classical way, and it's the most Dungeons and Dragons kind of way as well, because it's how the dice roll, and you're pretty unlucky. Maybe there was another character who could have healed him, but didn't account for a natural one on the death saving throw. Because life goes by quickly in such cases. Huh.
Yeah. Then suddenly it's over, and that's how it happens.
Michel says it's the one where you feel like you had no control, and then he has. I think we play this game to control something. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I think even the DM didn't expect this death.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Donker Rups mentioned as well. How do you feel about RNG deaths as DMs? Because we're often taken aback by something like this as well, and at least I feel for the player at that moment, and more often than not we start to look for a solution. Do you roll a new character? Is there an option to resurrect or something like that?
Yeah.
But also it creates story opportunities. So usually I like this as well. I mean, it's what I said before. Players can surprise you, but so can the die.
Die can, die is such a funny word in this sentence.
Yeah. That's why I used the singular, not the plural.
Yeah. As Herr Steve has said before, Wolfgar died to not being able to run away from this Frostworm's exploding aura, which was in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, not in 5th edition, because there he probably would have lived, because it's quite harder to die in 5th edition than it is in 3rd edition. I had that encounter set up for a certain aspect, for a certain player that would, you all know what the encounter was about. A creature with some essence which could be absorbed by one of the players. But anyway, the encounter before that was a Frostworm and a Remoras, and the two of them died.
Dwarves, both of them, because they couldn't run out of the blast from the dying Frostworm.
Yeah. Had 2 weeks to see if we could find a way, but we didn't.
Yeah,
and I say we because
every
I'm the
calculation possible. We went full meta on that, and we just couldn't figure out a way to save him.
Yeah. And how I felt about that was a bit confused because it was quite a hard dev. There were 2 characters in one go, and of the 6 characters that were there. But it gave me an opportunity as well to go into this blue pill, red pill stuff, which happened then. Which you chose the red pill, which is okay, but which totally derailed the build up of my adventure.
Yeah.
But it was fun anyway. Dark but fun. Yeah. So it was accidental. We were all very confused about what happened, but there was an opportunity afterwards to correct what had happened anyway.
Yeah, it took about 2 years though, but
yeah, it took about 2 years. Yeah, then they were alive again. So fun first one, I thought. So
yeah, glad you said.
Tariel says, I once had a Dragonborn paladin that tried to save a party member from a fire floor trap while running to the stairs at the end of it. After saving the party member, we moved to the next area where I was blown backwards because of a spell effect. Failing a dex throw to stay on the ledge, I fell down, restarting the trap, losing my last few hit points. As my party runs back to try to heal me, I crit fail my death saving throw, losing the most heroic character I've ever played. So you understand why I like this one. That's just for discussion. For discussion, not the effect, because I really liked when I read this one because you kind of feel the hurt, and in the sentence after this he says that I still dream about him, and then I can imagine that you do when such things happen.
So bad. This is just a chain of events, a chain of bad luck actually, and he tries to do the right thing, being the rogue character, instead of being overly careful with your character. Some players also do, but he tried to save someone, succeeds, and then gets punished for it hard.
By game mechanics,
not the DM.
And a logical conclusion about where he was and everything. Yeah. Painful.
Yeah, this. I feel for this one. This. As a DM, I would not enjoy this either. If something like this happens to my players.
Yeah. And it isn't even a stupid thing. It's an heroic thing that went awry.
Yeah.
That's when you read for the first 10 years in English and don't speak the words out loud. I think
you have the vocabulary, but not the pronunciation.
Yeah, the pronunciation. Yeah. So sad story. Yeah,
I don't know what else to say about this one, but
that's interesting because I don't know what else to say as well. But he's still missing his character. What could you have done after this situation to bring him back to life, or to well, we don't know the whole story.
As player or DM?
As a DM, yeah.
Yeah, well, the player could also always have talked to the DM if he was really attached to the character and said that he wanted to continue playing it. There's always an out. I mean, however bizarre you can always think of an out and fit it in the story, or make a comeback of some. At some point. It's. But on the other hand, death should also feel final, and you can't have a player feeling that they can just walk away from everything, including death. Because
well, we had this because Roger and I often talk about what to do with our parties in between sessions where we both DM, not that with the same party, but with different parties. And a couple of years ago, I had this traumatic experience where I had a total party kill, TPK, and I was really confused what to do about that, because I am a bit known as a DM that can be quite harsh towards his players. Can I say that, Roger?
No, that's not that fair, but continue
Well,
on
when
and
it
I'll
comes to
respond.
that, yes. Quit. What? Anyway, and well, and it was really confusing because there were 6 players. They were all suddenly dead because of the baddest rolls you could have. One player rolled only 2s and 1 3 during the whole encounter. They were bombarded by an encounter that shouldn't have been that hard if they had taken the upper hand in the first 2 rounds, but finally it lasted only 3 rounds and they were all dead. And then they had to decide, am I going to resurrect them in some funny way, or what are we going to do? And half the party wanted to start with new characters because they felt it was an end to their character, and the other ones wanted to pick up their old characters. We did use that opportunity to go from 3.5 edition to 5th edition rules, which was a big uptake. But and I kind of used that as leverage as well, so maybe that wasn't that. Anyway, and we restarted with 3 of them surviving and 3 new characters in the end. But to get to that point as Dungeon Master, I thought was pretty hard, because they had been playing for 6 years with those characters.
Yeah. And you have this whole story for them.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to restart that story with different characters, because
the funny thing is that 2 weeks before that thing, I said to you, I finally know what this adventure is about.
I remember. Yeah.
This is the storyline, and we're going to do this and that, and everything would be great. Because, well, if there was ever a party that derailed the story, then it's that party. Well, both parties do in a way, but this was so chaotic for a long time. Okay. So that's.
I actually think you resolved it pretty well, to be honest, because for some players it was enough, and they said, "Yeah, that is dead," and made new characters. But others were, attached to their characters and just wanted to continue playing them, or continue playing the story from the perspective of that character. So I know that one of the characters died again, like 2 or 3 sessions later, right?
Yeah, and then he thought
eventually rolled a new character.
Yeah, and he's pretty happy with that one as well. So that's it's also an opportunity, of course, to try something different.
Exactly.
And in a way, the story continued, but there was this whole extra story that was added to it as well.
But it also kind of depends on the adventure, and this maybe a bit the opposite of what Uncharted Creed is asking here. How would you handle if a PC dies in one of the first sessions of a long campaign?
Yeah.
I think that's not as bad as having them die halfway or near the end of the campaign, because at that point, as a DM, you've interwoven them completely into your story, and having a character die at that point could have grave consequences about how to continue, and bringing in a new character at that point of the story is also often weird and clunky, and it often feels forced to have a new party member join a group that already has been through so much together.
Yeah.
And if a character dies in one of the first sessions, I hope you're not that attached to it yet. Haven't drawn too much artwork.
But I had this 10-page background and artwork, and I invested for special dice in this miniature that could grow.
Exactly.
Maybe you shouldn't do that.
But during one of the first pre-sessions we did before we went live, you actually almost died.
Yeah.
And I kind of panicked at that moment. I thought, oh man, this is it, And to be fair, if you had died, there was no coming back from that. You would have died, and we would have had to write another story for you. But at this point in the campaign, everything's still far more flexible than at the end.
Yeah,
I think. But it also depends on the type of story you're telling. Is it a story that is character-driven, or is the story that is world-driven? Why are you laughing?
Sorry. Chat. Herr Steven says, the first time Wolfgar died, I actually hoped to recreate my free Wednesday evenings. 4 years into Wolfgar's death later, I lost all hope. Yeah.
Oh, Michel is right, by the way. MCOG84 says that we have that Combat 101. That's the video where you almost died.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun encounter as well. Stop scrapping the cook. Still like that very much. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, check it out on the YouTubes after the show, of course. Not
after the show. Please stay here.
Watching something else. I need to chat.
Okay. No, you shouldn't. You should. Stop scrapping. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Tom. It was the last session of the campaign, but I couldn't play. The party went up against a whole bunch of mind flayers and died, including me. The DM told me we could have won if we had attacked immediately. Seemed kind of rigged. When I read this one, I thought, wow, what's happening here? He explained a bit.
While you're not there.
TPK while you're not there in the last session you will ever play. So there's no way to resolve it, and the context of the story is that the DM was going to move, and that's why it was the last session. So it was not because the campaign ended or something, but man, that's a harsh reality. Off-screen TPK.
Yeah, that's I never had that happen before, luckily. Characters can take a beating while they're not there, and they can die if they're not there, and through no fault of mine. I always warn my other players that they also should look around and learn a bit about the other characters as well, so that if someone's not there, they can take over and play him well, or decently at least. But yeah, there's always a chance you die even if you're not there.
Yeah.
But TPK on the last session, this also feels bad, man. This is a nice topic. Jasper was, yeah.
but when I looked at this, I thought, what would I have done as a dungeon master? How would I have managed any emotions in connection with this one? Did the player even have the emotions that I would have been feeling when this happened to me? I have no idea. I really have no idea.
I mean, I almost never do it anymore, but you can always fudge die. I did it a lot back in the day, but and you want to end your last session on a high note, right? Just give the players some feel good.
It feels like a landslide.
As a DM, it's also your responsibility to make sure that the players have a good time. And I don't know what exactly happened. Maybe it was funny and they all had a laugh, and then it's fine. But if they all went home sad and feeling depressed because all of the characters died, then I'm not sure that I would be happy as a DM leaving my players like that on the very last session.
Was this your character dev, Uncharted Creed? No, that because then you can answer how you felt after that one, because the names between where I got the questions from and here might differ, of course. Recognize the name here. You all died but meet again in Valhalla, and now you all live happily ever after there. Yeah, true. No,
it wasn't it.
Did we already discuss your one or not?
Does he even have one?
It might not have, but it could be a totally different person. I don't know, but I was hoping that they would come here because I invited everyone who that I would mention.
Oh yeah, it's really nice to have them all here. That's really appreciate it.
Yeah, so this one blew me away in a kind of negative vibe, but the vibe might not have been negative at all. Yeah, well,
and not all of them. I know one that's coming that actually it's different in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, maybe. Let's see. Michel wants to add something to the conversation. So, because he is not here and Michel really likes to talk, maybe we run a video for you and you'll see what that's about. Okay? Enjoy this one.
Hi, Michel here. I just wanted to make this quick video to talk about one of my favorite characters that I ever played, Strife McCannon of the Clan McCannon. And this was a character in one of Roger's campaigns. So for me, one of the most important things with this character was that he had a very nice story arc and character arc. And this was something that I thought about every moment that I could. From being a naive clansman from the highlands of Tirgadon to a leader of the peoples of Terra, and from a jovial, honorable fighter to a duty-bound weapon of fate as the White Wolf of Death. Retelling this full story would take 10 years of weekly D&D sessions, so I'll just try and condense it, but it's important to know, as a Wolf of Death, it was Strife's duty to make sure that nobody cheated Death. As death is a natural part of balance. And in order to do this, he was able to channel positive energy into his weapon and his attacks, making him a bane to all undead. When facing their greatest challenge, the Lich that ascended to godhood, slain of Morsoval, the party knew that they would never actually be able to defeat him. But Strife had a plan, he knew what to do. At the most desperate moment, he turned to his friends, his family, and his companions and said, "Run." And while his party members ran away, he faced Slain alone. In one glorious assault, he started channeling all the positive energy that he could muster. He ran towards his fearsome enemy. He leaped, his mighty greatsword wolf skull raised high, and as he and his sword came crashing down on Slain, a burst of positive energy erupted from him and ripped through the room. After the dust settled, it was clear what he had done. In the middle of the metaphysical plane where they had been fighting, now a giant crystal stood, a white crystal encapsulating both Strife and Slain. Here they would remain forever, locked in eternal battle. For Strife knew that the abomination could never be destroyed, and to lock him in was the only way to defeat him. An eternal war between death and undeath, a battle of strength and will, two things that Strife McCannon of the Clan McCannon had in abundance. So this was my side of the story, and I would be very curious to know what Roger's take on this event was.
Well, there we are again. Nicely said, Michel.
Well, there we are again.
Yeah. Oh man, my sound is on. Okay. Woo! Echo. Yeah, it really well said, and I actually didn't listen to it until now because I wanted to have the experience here on screen, and I think I didn't really know all of it, but I don't know if I should have. I've went in and out of the adventure, but man, that's a thing. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
That was interesting. It was actually his second death, because he died before and he came back, somewhat transcended. But this death was not dependent on die. It wasn't dependent on the DM. It was no bad luck. It was a player that chose his own death in a fairly epic moment. Actually, he took down one of the big bad guys of the adventure, and he concluded that chapter by sacrificing his own character. A character he had by then played for 10 or 12 years, if not more.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm getting goosebumps again. So
he actually went on to play his own granddaughter afterwards, like a descendant of his actual character. So he still was connected to his old self, but things were never the same again.
Yeah, I remember him as Anfortas, the wolf of life instead of the wolf of death. We always had some strife between us. And oh, man, see what I did there? Man, I'm so cool. Anyway, and I thought it was really sad that he died. And still, I wanted to outdo him. But no, but all the fun. I really got goosebumps when I listened to this story, and I think it's certainly from a DM perspective, it's so epic when that happens in your party. That such a sacrifice and
A player surprising me with his own input.
Yeah.
And by making such a great sacrifice, because we all loved that character, every member of the party, and me as the DM, it was awesome. Strife was a really great character, so he says thanks for the campaign, but thanks for Strife as well, Michel.
Yeah, that's so cool. So how do you top this? I wanted. Okay. Let's go to the next one. It's just great. And it's a bit of an insider content for this episode as well, of course, because now we are tearing up. Well, some of you don't even know who he is, but I think that it's important that when you watch a show like this and you see and you're talking about things like character death, that these situations are on. We can experience them at all of our tables, so to say, or our screens in these times. Not saying the word. I think that sometimes we are quite an emotional group when it comes to these kind of sacrifices or moments in that our characters live through, and we really experience them. And that's a nice throwback to the paladin who says that he's still dreaming of his character that died at that point. In a way, they are kind of our second skins that we live in for quite a lot of years. And I don't think it always happens with every character, but it did certainly happen with this one. So, cool. Let's go to the next one. Shannon says, I stuck my head through it. I have to introduce this one first, because although we are quite Dungeons and Dragons driven on this Talking Void thing, it's about RPGs, and even though we talk, so I thought it was pretty cool that there were some Cthulhu-style character deaths that happened, and gave me a sense of what these adventures are about. I once played a Call of Cthulhu adventure where I was a psychologist on a spaceship that was driven by some strange core that had some demonic energy in it that propelled it through space. So we all know how that ended. When I read these, I could relate in a way, because these you really have to expect to die in a Cthulhu game, right? So Senna says, I stuck my head through a trapdoor to the top level of a lighthouse to encounter an otherworldly entity. Next thing, my head was rolling down the stairs and my party fled. Yeah. Call of Bob says, knowing he would die, my character kept the enemy at bay so my party could flee, and exclaimed, ha ha ha, try to surpass me now, father. Paraphrased it a bit because the answers were a bit long, but and to add to the second one, there were some replies to this character death where they said, yeah, that was really epic how that happened, and the player explained that he always had lived in the shadow of his father, and his father came to his funeral as well and got told about what his son had achieved. So talking about epic, that's what certainly an epic story. And I think the other one truly says that something about how in certain games your character death even though it was quick and you might not have had any chance when you finally got to that point to evade your death anymore, it is still a death that seems okay for the story. At least that's how I read it. How do you read these things?
Yeah, well, the second one is the story of sacrifice again, of course, like saying run and keeping the enemy at bay. But the first one just sounds a bit weird, actually, because it doesn't seem like he could have done anything about it. Like, it was...
He could. I think that the thing about Cthulhu campaigns is that you should not have gone there.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing about Cthulhu stories is that they always do.
Yeah, but so these games are more
so
about...
it's fitting.
Yeah.
I think death it's a natural part of that setting, way more than it is in a high fantasy setting.
I think
death is normal in a high fantasy setting, but there's all kind of stuff you can do about it.
So Uncharted Creed says here, I witnessed the first and the second one is mine. Well, epic death, man. Yeah. That's
it's real Gandalf moment. Run, you fools!
Yeah, run, you fools! And then,
although he survives, which is
Yeah, he does, but in a way he doesn't as well, because if we are talking about Strive's ascension, it was
and what you said about the funeral, that's also really cool, because then there's still a lot of attention paid to it.
Yeah.
Like it's not just something that happened and you move on with the adventure. It really has an impact within the adventure as well, and I think that's important, especially if players have to deal with the death of their character.
Yeah.
It helps with acceptance. I mean, that's the whole reason why there are funerals in the world anyway.
Yeah. So as he is in chat, it might be fun to ask, did you start a character that got into to the same group after this, or did you start a whole new adventure with other players, or did you decide to do the funeral after the adventure because of the significance of it, or was it in between sessions because the story continued? I want to know, because I really like it. And I don't know how Cthulhu campaigns evolve after you have finished part of an adventure, because the thing I think about Cthulhu campaigns is you go insane always go insane, right? It's solving the mystery, so you know how to deal with it and survive. Yeah. So you probably the first one where they poked their head through the trapdoor, they could have unraveled the mystery before that, so they would have approached it in a different way, and that's how you would have solved the adventure. Yeah. This was a one shot for all players for first experience of COC. Okay, so wow. Then it was. I think I have to say it was a really good experience. Yeah. Dubious, but
but he says earlier that COC is deadly and surviving chances often less than 50%. So it's a far bigger part of that game. Some people just aren't meant to survive the adventure.
No, true. And I always do you feel proud if you do survive at the end of an adventure, or do you feel pride because you died? And now they are playing a campaign, so cool. It can be done. I really like the setting, the Lovecraftian setting of Cthulhu. Although I might
have drawn some inspiration from it here and there, maybe.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. Watch Old Thieves Ordeal again, and might be some hints.
Yeah.
Small ones.
That was dark as well. Yeah. remember my the drawing of my son, the houses with mouths. And, yeah. And he didn't even watch it, so or couldn't even understand it. He just drew. My 9-year-old drew a house with eyes in it and everything. And he said there was this worm underground that was really long and had a lot of eyes. Well, he's going to be a great dungeon master. Your play style is your death style. Yeah. I like that one. Is that a Metallica reference, I think? Yeah.
It is.
Your lifestyle determines your death style. Yeah, it's from it's from Saint Anger, so you might. Anyway, a rising tide that reaches to the other side.
Yeah. Okay, we know.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. I cannot. Oh well, I can't sing on the camera. Let's go to the next one. Fake. Not my character, but the wizard walked off a cliff and said, "I cast fly." He had forgotten that they were in a dead magic zone. Yeah. Well, I had to put that one up last. So this is the last.
Category funny death. Yeah,
the category funny death.
It's a bit like, dragons always sleep with their eyes open.
Yeah. Well, did this ever happen to us? Such a funny thing where you thought,
we had this. You remember the epic fail?
Yeah.
We had this this piece of paper and I wrote big letters "epic fail," and every time a player made a stupid mistake, he had to put that paper in his character sheet until the next player made an epic fail, and had to write the date and their autograph and sign it. And this would be an epic fail. Those character sheet might not be for long, but that's still, if you rolled a new character, he would have had to take the epic fail.
I still like the one where I thought, but I'm level 16. No, you're not. You're level 19. What was it?
Oh yeah. That was Sir Skankalot, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Dispel magic, a clutch dispel magic, and he got his own level wrong by 5 levels.
Yeah, well, you see, you can laugh about death, so that's the thing. So Uncharted Creed says this was an unintended but felt like a glorious death. Lots of aftermath jokes with the ghost of my player. I even asked the dungeon master if the players could see a glance in the mirror of my character at the end, and when they turn around, I was gone. Yeah, those are the things we do in Cthulhu style games, right?
Yeah,
I say also... we, but I had only one experience, and it was as a player. So.
But that's also the kind of stuff you can talk about with your DM, just to give yourself some closure and make you feel better about your death. Because player death's never fun, but you can make something of it together, and might even turn into a great story.
Yeah.
Which in this case, it sounds like it did.
Yeah, and for a one shot, I like it.
Yeah.
Such a memorable death in a one shot, and then keep it with you forever. Yeah. Cool. So that concludes our topic part. I have 2 more questions for possibly you, maybe a bit me, but more you.
More me. Nice.
More you. Yeah. So let's see what questions came in. The senders of the questions are well known to us because, well, they like to ask questions, and we ask them to ask questions as well. So the first one is by Donkere Rups. I like this one really, really well. Because of Solwing's action that got kind of punished by Oddleaf, I started wondering about the significance of splitting the party. Sometimes I feel that it would just be in character to leave the party for a longer period of time, but the other players at my table seem to pull me back in due to a meta-group cohesion aspect. How do you feel about this?
kind of two minds about this, because I think it's also a bit the player's responsibility to keep group cohesion and don't go prancing about on your own adventure. But at some point in an adventure, that might just be the logical way, and then it is what it is, and you should go with it. But and you can get some one-on-one time with the DM, which is always fun. But always try to get back to the group eventually, and yeah, otherwise you just leave the party and you can't play along anymore. So that's not what you want, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing about D&D, because I recently read something about having your own time at the table during a session, and how much should that be, and so is it okay to have the focus of the adventure on you for like 20 minutes or 1 hour on the evening session, or maybe the whole session is about you, and I think people disagree on what the right answer should be, and I think the only real right answer is, well, do you feel comfortable at your table when such things happen? But then to leave it entirely, even though it's logical, that demands something of the dungeon master as well, and you have to see where you can find the time to pick up that part of the adventure. Yeah.
It's like I said, I mean, I remember you, Jasper, taking a break from my adventure as well, because your life was just full at the moment. You had no space to play anymore, and you took an extended leave. But your character just something happened to him, of course, and that was the reason he wasn't there. But he was always there in the background, with the possibility of returning for if you wanted to return. But that's something else.
Again.
Yeah. Because with this, it's at that point you're just making your own adventure and taking away from everyone else, actually. Because if the DM has to focus solely on you, then there's no room for the rest anymore. And like Jasper said, it's okay to shine a spotlight on a player in one session, another player in another session, but you can't have when you run a D&D session, you can't constantly split up in a way that the DM has to divide his attention among a group of people and one person or two groups of people. Unless the adventure was specifically built around that, but just you have a DM that has to, because if you're the only player that splits off from the group, then you will automatically demand 50% of the DM's attention, while there are 3 or more other players that also receive 50% of the DM's attention, but they have to share that 50% while you get it to yourself. So that's.
So is there a difference there in when you're part of the party but in the spotlight, instead of being away from the party and demanding the same amount of time, do you think? You see what I did there? It's kind of a trap.
Yeah, I think that there's a difference there, because when you're all together, then even if the spotlight's shown on you, other players can still react and share how they feel and live in that moment. Because if you're really away from the party and they don't have any say in anything, then more often than not, you see them reaching for the phones and just start scrolling away, and because they're bored. And as DM, you try to have everyone engaged, but it's really hard if you have to divide your attention on multiple scenarios at once. And it's okay if it happens sometimes, because you guys tend to split up a lot, but I try at least to shift the scene around a lot and move between the different groups or different characters, so that everyone still gets their share. But you always have reason to come back together so far.
Yeah. So this is something that's pretty dominant in our thoughts when we are playing the Precipice of Dreams as well, because we had a couple of moments where we were really thinking, how are we ever going to keep this party together? Because Bowen and Thomas's fallout, for example, nearly drove Bowen away. Altreeve's strange behavior. There were a couple of things that could have caused our party to split up, but in our minds we are always searching for a way to bring it back together, because you are not only a group of characters but also a group of players that want to enjoy an evening spending playing D&D. The only thing that
it's a cooperative game, so
cooperative game, yeah, with the dungeon master, by the way, not against the dungeon master, with the dungeon master.
Yeah, that's
keep it in mind.
A whole different issue, but that's fair enough. Yeah.
And what I keep thinking about is, and this is what I did with Bowen in a way, as an example, is that I could have really lost my mind when Altreeve vanished, did something with the glass, and returned, and was considered an angel, which I couldn't believe in anything. But instead of going full paranoia, I decided that would be the point where Bowen decided maybe something is happening here that I can connect to, instead of going even more into that part. Because I'm thinking about the cooperation aspect a lot when we are playing.
Yeah, but I think Eric says that his party, the party he DMs, doesn't split up for more than one session. I think that's fair. That's okay. I don't mind, and even a couple of sessions if you have to split between two groups. But what Donker Herbs says about the Thomas saga, as he names it, I think he means the part where he went into the warehouse and infiltrated and used his stealthy abilities to progress in there. And I think that's also important, because it's important that he got that opportunity. Because he plays a character that is stealthy, and often you see these rogue type characters in groups not being able to use their stealth skills because there's a paladin walking behind them with plate armor and making a lot of noise, and usually defeats the purpose of being stealthy altogether. And this gave him a chance to really shine in his role, I think. And I think that's important too, that players should have that opportunity now and then, but doesn't mean that they should constantly go on their own way and do their own thing because the party doesn't fit with his abilities or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Donker Rups likes the to be on the edge of his seat and likes the conflict in the party, and does horrible things during a playing session to get this. I'm getting this word again. Strife while playing, and I kind of try to resolve that with him by letting NPCs influence him a bit about how he can think about the options that he would get within the group instead of outside of the group. Don't even know if he realizes this, but that's how I try to get it back on track. But
did you realize I did that with Bowen as well then? Because we had an NPC where you had a whole conversation with it. That's something along those lines with Bowen.
I have to think about what NPC. Are you talking about the mother or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, true. But that's where I did it myself as well at the same time.
You were willing, of course. But I think that therein lies some player responsibility as well. I mean, like that you were willing to do that and you went with it, so to say. A lot of, especially when there's tensions within a group, sometimes you have to just go with it. And you think of a reason why it would be okay for your character, and not be rigid and say, "Oh, this is not how my character would act." And there's always an out. There's always a reason why he would act like that in that moment, and why he would accept it. And the players bear as much responsibility for this as DM, maybe even more, to be fair. Because
and then I think there's the aspect which is contrary to what we are discussing by splitting the party, and then a player being in the spotlight because he has the attention of, say, an NPC or something, or a player being in the spotlight, which happened with Thomas, because it is really the part that player should be doing, and that's I really like that one. And I once had a conflict with that in the party where someone was doing really good roguelike stuff and really hit all his stealth checks, went through doors in the most amazing ways, and then the party really the players said Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, they went full Leroy Jenkins. Great. But that ruins it for that other player.
And I saw his face when that happened, and that really destroyed that session for him. And he was right about that as well. So, yeah, and.
And other players should also accept when a player is in the spotlight, because you have these player types that are spotlight hogs that want to be in the spotlight constantly and are just like, look at me and what I'm doing. But sometimes another player takes the spotlight and they try to interfere, but as a DM you have to rein that in a bit and give a player their moment and not have the other players ruin it. I mean, I don't know how you could have rein them in, except use that situation to explain the problem to them. But
I went back with them with the two responsible players in the car, and we talked about it quite extensively.
Yeah, afterwards, but it still happened then. Yeah,
but I gave a great spin to that part of the story.
Yeah, and sometimes other players should just sit back and enjoy the ride as well. I mean, like Donker Rups, he can look at what Thomas is doing and sit on the edge of his seat. I mean, there's no reason why the other party members couldn't as well at that point.
And that's the thing about what are you experiencing at the moment. It's the same as the thing that the adventure happens alongside of the road and not at the destination, is that it happens through the other players at the table. And just like you're reading a good book, you can enjoy the others their play style as a chapter from that book.
Yeah, exactly. As an audience, yeah.
He was a generous DM, Donker Rup says. Yeah, I was a generous DM and started the whole plot line, which had to have happened anyway. He was in the Leroy Jenkins party, so...
okay.
Yeah, great discussion. Do you want to add anything else to this part?
Yeah, don't split the party. You idiot.
Well, that's a great conclusion. Okay. Think about it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So last question.
Last one.
Last question. Yeah.
Quickly ask more questions in chat.
In your storytelling, how do you balance gameplay considerations, the story, freedom of the players, etc., with meta considerations, players' preferences, variety within sessions with a set end time, players who are unavailable, comma, ...
Three dots of shame.
Question mark.
Yeah, I don't have I improvise is the short answer, I guess. Yeah, gameplay consideration, story, freedom of the characters, etc. Well, there are multiple types of storytelling, and what I'm doing currently in both of my campaigns is more of a sandboxy vibe where I tell the story of the world and the characters happen to be in that world and tell their own story in that world. So it's not like I want characters to do specific things. except don't split the party. But everything that happens in the world is set, and the players can change that if they want to or are able to. And that's how I tell my story now, and that's where their freedom actually comes from. As opposed to a more railroaded campaign, which I did before, where there were set chapters and the players had to accomplish different objectives constantly. They were sent on missions or whatever. And if you take into account the meta considerations, my players know what kind of DM I am. That they've been playing with me some of them for over 20 years, and they know what they can expect from an adventure from me. The Precipice is a bit different than I usually do. So the players that want to play my campaigns are players whose interests and preferences align with my DM style and my storytelling. And variety that within sessions that's just something I try to do as much as possible. But in my own persistent campaigns, we have had battles that lasted for multiple sessions. 3 sessions in a row was just combat, and a single encounter. And that is fun. But after that, we usually have some time for role playing. So it all balances out in the long run. But now with Precipice, it's actually quite different because like I said on the previous talking point where I was guest, there's a kind of a responsibility to entertain, like give the audience something as well. So I have to find a balance between role play and combat and whatever. And that's really hard because I don't like random encounters. Like encounters for the sake of encounters is not something I like. That it should be logical and it should fit into the story or fit into the onto where they are. And we've seen now in Precipice, which is only 2.5 hours of gameplay. Usually there's sometimes no combat at all. And so far I think it works out, but it's still something I think about every time, way more than I do my more. I don't want to call the Legacy of Time casual, but my other campaigns where I don't worry too much about that because I know players will enjoy both aspects of the game, and even if there's a session that's only combat or only role play, I trust that they will have a good time there.
Or even a session that isn't that interesting.
Yeah,
because
that can
you're around
happen.
the table with friends. You had to learn me you had to teach me that because I always feel a responsibility about having the best time on the table. And you said you can't peak every time, and that's true. You know, there will be sessions where you can't
have ups and
achieve
downs.
you have ups and downs.
And what I always do, because I tend to have this build up towards particular moments in my adventure, and I just hope that they hit home, so to say.
Yeah.
That if they've
and I think. No. Finish your sentence.
That once such an epic occurrence happens, then they walk away with a good feeling and say to me, "Wow, that was really cool." And how did you come up with that?
And I think the other thing is that what we are experiencing with the Precipice, because it's the DM has a large role in how the session will end and or how the adventure will continue, of course. But we are all super aware that we are doing a show as well. But one of our goals is to play as we would play at home and have a teaching element to it and a relaxed element to it, and a version where you can see us messing up or getting it wrong sometimes, and just how do you resolve that around the table. So there's all these kind of things that come together in the Precipice of Dreams, but we never want to get to that point, I think, at least, where we lose sight of that. We are at the same time also explaining the right word to our audiences? What is happening, how we are playing, why we are doing the stuff that we are doing. Although we are not very explicit about it. When combat occurs before, for example, we try to tell why we are doing stuff and correct each other on the rules, or say, should we have...
You mean more so than we do at the table?
Well, not more so, but that's just what we want. We want to show that we are doing that at the table, that we are talking about how we something happened. Sorry, I shouldn't pay attention, but that's when we are at the table, we have discussions about rules, but it is the dungeon master who finally says, okay, this is not for now, let's go on. And when we have a discussion about in the previous combat, we had the discussion about shouldn't you have a shield and a sword at the ready when you are on watch, for example. And this was resolved in a way that Thomas said, or Eric said, he didn't think Thomas would have had that shield. And then we could have a discussion about that, because that seems a bit strange to me, Jasper, as a player, because you were on watch anyway, and you didn't mention that it was Bower. And then this discussion gets a certain place inside of the combat, but in the end says, you made a good choice, so you didn't have to do this, let's go on.
I'm kind of flexible on that part of I'm not very strict, and I follow the rule of cool way more than the rules as written. If he would have said, I want my shield, and I said, yeah, fine, then you have shield, it's okay. And some things you just don't have to worry about. But it's also we also do some rule searching during the session as well. I mean, I use a website for that, and just check some stuff. And that's a natural part of D&D. Everyone does that, even with all of our years of experience. Then, you just can't know everything, and sometimes you get stuff confused from previous editions or some custom rules you made.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about Dungeons and Dragons. Even if you have been playing it for 28 years, you still can't remember all the rules, because there are so many. Even if you would have been playing one edition, you still...
Uncharted Creed says it right there. Fun is bigger than rules, and more important. That's true, because having fun is... it's why we play D&D or any other tabletop RPG. If you go home feeling bad about what you did that whole evening, then you're doing it wrong. Or someone else is doing it wrong, and you should talk about that. And as DM, I feel like it's your responsibility to make sure that everyone has fun. And of course, you can't please everyone with everything, but you can give each player a bit of what they want. So get to know your players.
Fun for me is getting some of the rules right. So that can differ between players as well.
Most fun for me is when I see that my players are having fun.
A part of the fun for me is getting the rules right.
It's just the feedback, and of course when I see them really getting into the adventure as well, that gives me a confidence boost as well. And like I said before, when they surprise you with their own stuff, like choosing to die right there and then.
Oh, that brings us back to the beginning of the show, which might be a good point where we wrap up these questions and go to the final screen, or the final gray area on the screen. I don't know. Is this the end? Yes, it is. Which probably means we'll keep talking.
Keep talking.
Let's keep talking. Yeah, but let's go to the end of the show by.
Your sound's gone. What?
Is my sound gone?
Yeah, I didn't buy, and then
by talking.
Oh, by talking. Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Talking void,
Yeah.
right? Talking into the void.
Exactly. So, chat, did you enjoy this episode? That's the first thing I wanted to ask after this silliness that we got into this evening.
I did.
Steve, left me to
Actually.
die. Did you have fun, Roger?
I did have a lot of fun. It's over way too quickly again. But
Yeah.
I always think that about the show because, yeah, I mean, when we talk to each other outside of streams and stuff like that, we also talk about D&D a lot and DM philosophy and what happened during our adventure. So this is just another
An
Friday
extension
morning
of
for
that,
me,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, Friday
The
morning.
only thing
we
I
should,
missed is the cup of coffee
yeah.
and the kebab. I missed the kebab as well, but yeah, different times.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun as well. I liked the fact that we were a bit more into the Dungeon Master style. I only used Bowen as a reference instead of explaining a lot of things that I lived through. Yeah, I like to do that as well. And I like the Bowen questions, of course, but I'm here every week, so it's fun to have this more kind of meta view on the subjects we are discussing. Yeah, I thought it was fun. 11 out of 10 by Michel. But yeah, well, he's not really objective.
No, he's biased, I know.
Yeah, he's biased. But there are some other people who I trust that they are giving me a 10 out of 10. So, yeah.
No, chat was very lively today, which I really appreciate. Some new people there that joined in. Always fun.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. So
yeah. Well, I think that we are going to go to the end of the show, which means that we have to say some other stuff.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah, feels bad.
Absent yet.
Anyway, next Monday there will be a new episode of the Precipice of Dreams, which I am looking very much forward to. The week after that, we are doing our parallel projections and Talking Void again, so that will be on the schedule. What
do you think will happen next session, by the way? Because you guys were talking about having just a talk about everything that's happening, because a lot has been happening.
That's not going to happen. We're just going to walk and blunder into something. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Thanks. 1 F at least. Yeah.
An F, that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, I asked for that. F's in chat. I said, because of the end. The end is coming.
Oh, the end is coming. Okay, then it's okay. So I have to tell you about the socials again. Please follow us on Twitch and on follow us everywhere. But Twitch and YouTube are really important to us because that will grow our community. That will grow our possibility to do these streams fastest. But please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and our Discord as well, so we can grow. Yeah, and that's what I have to say about this episode. That's still going strong, but I think I really have to end the stream.
It's that time, right?
With the new outro. So with that,
the new outro. Oh, that's
well, yeah, it's a new outro, which I should have entered last time, but anyway. You know, yeah. And be seeing you. Thanks for joining Talking Void. Hope you had a lot of fun. Well, you did because you said so, and I had a lot of fun. And it's a chaotic mess, and that's good.
That's the Jasper way, right?
But it's get more serious when it progresses.
If in the end, he's actually not that chaotic. This side is.
Yeah. I'm not that chaotic when I DM. I'm pretty poised. Yeah. Brilliant mess. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Anyway. See ya.
Goodbye.
That's Chin's thing. Okay. See ya.
Yeah. Bye.